detenerlo, el robo del petróleo, pero como hay mucha gente que se dedica a eso, mientras siga pasando gasolina por los tubos, se va a seguir continuando.
Oil is very big business in Mexico. So for the last 10 years, we've seen a steady increase in the price of oil around the world, which is why you have the cartels getting into the oil business, because it's more profitable for them to steal and sell than it is cocaine. We wanted to come here and follow the oil and see exactly where the cartels have been attacking.
Crude oil is Mexico's #1 export, and the United States is its biggest customer. That sounds like good news for Mexico, but in some ways, it's a problem. Since the nationalization of the petroleum industry in the 1930s, oil has been the lifeblood of the Mexican economy. In fact, the state-owned oil company Pemex provides about a third of the tax revenues that the government uses to pay for everything from welfare programs to their own salaries. And now, the drug cartels that have already destabilized the country with their bloody ongoing war with the government are stealing its oil. Pemex has reported a 1,548% increase in illegal siphoning from its pipeline since the year 2000, creating a multi-million-dollar underground industry. With up to 10,000 barrels of oil being stolen every day, we headed to the border town of Reynosa to get a closer look at the cartel's newest enterprise. Thanks to the presence of warring cartels, Reynosa has become a place where having army escorts is essential. So we met up with the military unit assigned to protect the Pemex employees who have to inspect the company's pipelines in one of the most dangerous places in Mexico. It's a place where the cartels operate so freely, you can hear them on open channels monitoring the movements of the soldiers who are supposed to be monitoring them.
So we're out on patrol with the Mexican Army right now. We're going to go to a Pemex pipeline that we think got broken into yesterday. And as we're driving, we have a walkie-talkie that's tapped into the frequency of the cartels who are talking about us, saying that there are 7 cars, they're on the road, they're coming towards us, so they're scrambling right now.
El no hacerlo, iríamos a ciegas, no sabríamos si nos preparan una emboscada. El personal militar se le llama 80s, Policía Federal, bandas.
Ahí con las 380 y el Panda nos metimos por la calle de 10. Entrando por la calle de 10 con la petrolera de 9, las 3 el Panda rojo. Te confirmo. Ahí tengo que ir rojo.
Y nosotros tratamos de evitar los puntos donde nos vigilan para lograr una sorpresa y en su caso tener un resultado.
With both the Mexican authorities and the cartels armed to the teeth, many suspect that the reason the bloody shootouts don't happen here more often is because the military and Pemex have been infiltrated by the cartels, allowing them to easily avoid each other.
This is where they think the leak is.
Hay indicios, hacen un poco de aroma a gasolina.
I mean, the aroma of gas is really strong here. The deeper they dig, the stronger the smell is.
The operation to find and fix the cartel's illegal taps is not a small one. Once this tap was found, specialists from Pemex were brought in to weld and seal the tap. But this process is only putting a Band-Aid on the problem. In 2013 alone, the company found more than 2,000 illegal siphons on its pipelines. What that means is every 8.5 miles, a new siphon is placed on one of these Pemex pipelines. This tap was only a few feet away from a tap that was welded shut just a week earlier. With the Gulf Cartel and the Zetas competing in this area, we wondered if any one group was controlling the lucrative underground trade in oil and fuel. We spoke to Dr. George Grayson, who has done extensive research on the cartels.
It's the Zetas are the primary thieves. They are making a great deal of money from the oil industry.
Los Zetas is a powerful and violent criminal syndicate in Mexico and is considered by the U.S. government to be the most technologically advanced, sophisticated, and dangerous cartel in Mexico. The group was formed in 1997 by soldiers who defected from the Mexican Army's elite Air Mobile Special Forces. They are most notoriously known as a drug cartel with an affinity for indiscriminate brutal violence, torture, kidnapping, and slaughter. But in recent years, they have diversified their activities beyond the traditional drugs, guns, and human trafficking. Now it's ordinary oil workers who are living in fear of the cartel's wrath.
So what are some of the risks of being an oil worker for Pemex?
The risk is pretty clear. You either cooperate or you suffer the consequences. The cliche is plata o plomo. That is, silver, take the money, or plomo, take the lead. But often it's not lead, but it's steel in the form of having your head cut off with a chainsaw. They also prepare guisos. These are stews where you take a member of the family and you put them in a pig boiler and you pour gasoline on them and then you set a match to them. And because the Zetas use such sadistic, unbelievably cruel methods, typically people will cooperate with them either for a payment or for concern that their lives and the lives of their family members would be in danger.
Kidnappings and reported disappearances of oil workers have terrorized the region. More than 50 Pemex employees have been kidnapped over the last 10 years. The most notorious case was in 2007, when 38 oil workers went missing from the Burgos Basin. From intimidating Pemex workers to hijacking the pipelines, the Mexican drug cartels are undermining the government's control over the oil industry. We wanted to talk to one of the men responsible for this sabotage, someone who could give us insight into the Zetas operations. After months of searching, we finally arranged a meeting with a Zeta soldier who agreed to talk to us under the conditions that we hide his face and distort his voice.
Cuando me fui para el sur, empecé a conocerlo de la ordeña. De ahí después hubo un amigo que me invitó a trabajar ahí con él. Y ahí empezó a explicarme lo que pagaban, cuánto pagaban. Empecé a comparar las cosas, andar de delincuente, andar con la delincuencia o andar robando la Pemex. Y se me hizo más seguro agarrar dinero donde estaban los ductos de Pemex. Si metemos pifas de 10,000, se sacan 60,000 pesos. Si sacamos dos son 120,000. Para hacer una perforación dura de 20 minutos hasta 40 minutos. En el sur se inició más que nada la leña de combustible. De ahí se vino desatando según cada estado, se vino desatando hacia el norte. Ahorita ya casi es a todo nivel nacional donde están sacando esa leña de combustible. En todos lados, ya ahorita ya creció esto. Ya sí pueden agarrar a unos, pero ya siempre queda otro, siempre sabe otro más que uno.
We were on our way to the heart of the Burgos Basin, but before we could visit the natural gas and oil fields, we were instructed we had to shave our beards as a safety precaution or we couldn't go.
This meeting that's happening right now, this is something that happens every single day. It's like the daily security briefing. These are the different stations we're going to go to, and if the Army can't join them, they don't go. So that's a sign of how bad things are, that they need to do it every day, and they have to go with the Army. flying around right now in the Pemex helicopter because the roads are so bad that they've said we can't drive from station to station to see the different places where they've had issues.
From the air, you can clearly see the network of pipelines carved into the landscape, stretching approximately 17,000 miles across the country. Each one of those lines is a potential target for the cartels.
We're driving through the Burgos Basin right now, and we got Army guys all around us. We are out on patrol with Pemex.
The cartels aren't always tapping into pipelines to get these natural resources. Sometimes they simply drive their tanker trucks right into the Pemex facilities like this one and fill up. Just weeks before, these massive barrels were completely drained of liquid gas.
La sustracción la hacían con autotanques. Conectan su manguera, descargan el tanque y cargan a su autotanque. Y de aquí pues ya se lo robaban.
These thefts got so bad that in 2010, Pemex shut down stations and halted routine maintenance in this area. With the help of the military, production is just now resuming.
The cartels probably had an epiphany that this is a lot easier for us to drive in and just take the oil and sell it on the black market than it is to like bring in cocaine from Colombia and sell it.
While the stolen oil is nearly impossible to track, it's widely suspected that a portion of it is making its way back to the United States. In 2007, a binational investigation showed that large amounts of Pemex oil were being smuggled into Texas. Executives and oil brokers at 5 Texas-based companies were sentenced in connection to the stolen oil.
El gobierno trata de detenerlo, pero como hay mucha gente que se dedica a eso y hay mucho que les gusta el dinero, aquí puedes invertirle, para hacer un pozo le inviertes 200, 300,000, o sea, comprando un tráiler, comprando pipa, comprando material, y eso lo sacas en un día o en 2 días. Estamos en un área segura, necesitamos movernos. Lo que sucede aquí es que es un área donde transita la delincuencia y lo que sucede es que hay intimidación, hay robos al personal de Pemex y en casos críticos a veces cuando se topan 2 carteles diferentes ocurre enfrentamiento entre ellos. Y bueno, lo que se procura aquí es que el área esté limpia de ese personal para que nosotros podamos operar, para no quedar en medio de una balacera, un confrontamiento entre ellos.
So we are in a very, very hot area right now. We're being forced to move very quickly from one spot to the next. Haven't been here for more than 5 minutes, and they say it's time to keep moving.
We gotta go. We gotta go? We gotta go. We gotta go.
Aquí es como todo, aquí es México, ¿verdad? Aquí pueden también tener dinero lo que son las palomas. Las palomas vienen siendo los que trabajan para Pemex. Se contactan, se llega a un acuerdo, ya sea una pipa que les demos a la semana o ya sea 1% de cada pipa que saquemos.
In the past decade, more than 97 Pemex workers and 7 contractors have been linked to fuel theft. And while it's true that stealing oil is less risky for the Zeta soldiers than running drugs, what we saw next showed us how this illegal business is having a much larger and deadly impact on the Mexican people. There have been dozens of accidents related to oil theft over the last few years, but none as deadly as the one in Texmelucan.
We are driving to a town called San Martin, Texmelucan. It's outside of Puebla. On December 19th, 2010, one of the cartels hacked into the pipeline. It was a pipeline that had already been illegally tapped into about 60 times, and it went horribly wrong.
A leak led to an explosion that destroyed 115 homes, killing 30 people, 13 of which were children. The oil kept flowing, creating a river of fire that devastated the town.
This is where the pipeline was hacked into underneath us. It's pretty amazing how much oil actually needed to be shot out of that pipeline to fill this entire street, take a right turn, go into the river, burn down the bridge, and go down to the left as well.
Among the empty lots and for sale signs in Texmelucan are dozens of crosses and shrines. This shrine was made by a man named Jaime Mendel. When we heard his story, we understood why he did not want to appear on camera.
He is essentially the single biggest victim of this ordeal. He lost his entire family, 10 family members. Wife, children, grandkids. This is his daughter, Miriam. His wife. It's hard to put the magnitude of his losses into words. After he received his money from Pemex to rebuild the home, he was kidnapped by the cartels. They held a gun to his head and kept him there until he gave all the money to the criminals. He was extorted.
Intimidation and extortion are a common tactic of the cartels, and many residents of Texmelucan are living in fear. But we were able to speak with one woman who lost her father, her daughter, and 3 of her grandchildren in the accident.
Yo le quise hacer a mi hija su altar en memoria de ella y de mi papá también, de mis nietos.
Can you explain exactly what happened that night?
Nos levantamos, me paré en la sala y ya todo estaba ardiendo, las cortinas de las entradas, todo estaba ardiendo. Cuando nos sacaron, me iban a sacar por la barda, pero yo no me quise ir hasta no ver a mi hija y a mis niños. Yo les decía a la gente, tenía entonces trabajando a mi hijo en el verde de policía y se brinca, vio a mis hijos y ya se baja y ya me dice, ma, ¿sabes qué? Vámonos. Le digo, ¿pero por qué nos vamos? Dice, le digo, tu hermana, a los niños. Y dice, es que ya vámonos, ya te dije que ya nos vayamos, ya no hay nada que hacer. Y pues sí, nos sacaron, pero nos fuimos de aquel lado. Pero sí, ahí perdí a mis niños y a mi hija. Que las personas que hacen eso, que de robarse el petróleo, que lo piensen 1 y 1000 veces para hacer esas cosas. Porque miren todo lo que ocasiona el hacer eso.
The explosion in Texmelucan and others that have happened since then show that the impact of the illegal oil trade is much bigger than the Mexican government losing some tax revenue. Innocent people are being killed. Oil, diesel, and natural gas are some of Mexico's most important industries, and theft by the cartels is having a dramatic effect on the economy. Because of the resulting violence, gas production in the Burgos Basin has decreased dramatically. On top of that, in 2013, crude oil extraction was at its lowest in 20 years. In an effort to address the effects of this downturn, the government is enacting controversial constitutional reforms that would end the company's 75-year-old monopoly, opening the company to private and foreign investment in spite of public protest. While that may provide a short-term influx of cash, it still doesn't address the fact that the cartels will continue stealing oil no matter who owns it. The cartels have taken a cue from big business and have diversified their portfolio beyond cocaine, weed, and meth. Oil may be their biggest business yet, and could have the most devastating impact of all. With the resources that are supposed to be fueling Mexico's development flowing into the hands of the cartels, they could become more powerful and more threatening than ever before.